Welcome back to our series on Smart Mode on Audio. In the last episode, we discussed decision, the mastery of procrastination. Today, in episode 3, we move on to persistence, the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an immediate, heavy sense of tension, even though no one had said a single word? Perhaps the air felt thick, as if charged with an invisible static that prickled the skin on your arms. Or conversely, have you ever met someone and instantly felt a wave of confidence and positivity radiating from them, a warmth that seemed to physically brighten the space around you? We often brush these experiences off as mere vibes or gut feelings, but what if I told you that there is a profound, almost mechanical science behind these sensations? What if your brain is not merely a container for your thoughts, a silent vault of memories and logic, but a sophisticated, high-powered broadcasting station? Imagine your mind as a biological radio, constantly pulsing, sending and receiving signals across a vast, invisible spectrum that connects every human being on this planet. Today, we are exploring the final, most mysterious frontiers of personal achievement. We are stepping beyond the physical world of hard work and into the ethereal world of mental energy. We are diving deep into the mechanics of the mind as a mental radio, exploring the subtle power of the legendary sixth sense, and learning how to identify and banish the 6 ghosts of fear that haunt the hallways of your potential. This is not just a discussion about positive thinking. It is an investigation into the high-frequency energy of persistent action and the unseen forces that govern our success. Let's start with a concept that sounds like the plot of a science fiction novel, yet is rooted in the very way our biology functions. Think of your brain as a two-way radio. On one side, you have your subconscious mind. This is your sending station. It is the powerhouse, the engine room of your psyche. It takes your deepest, most visceral desires, your recurring anxieties, and your most intense emotions, and it broadcasts them out into the world. It doesn't distinguish between a good signal and a bad one. It simply transmits whatever frequency you feed it. On the other side, you have your creative imagination. This is your receiving set. It is the delicate antenna, the fine-tuned instrument that picks up hunches, flashes of brilliance, and those sudden, revolutionary ideas that seem to literally pluck themselves out of thin air. But how do we ensure the signal is clear? Here is the strategy. To get your broadcasting station to work at peak performance, you have to turn up the volume. In the world of mindset, volume is synonymous with emotion. A cold, logical, or detached thought has almost no signal strength. It is like trying to listen to a radio station from 3 states away through a mountain range during a lightning storm. All you get is static. But when you mix a thought with a powerful, driving emotion, like a burning desire for achievement or the profound intensity of love, the signal becomes high voltage. It becomes stepped up, a term borrowed from electrical engineering meaning to increase the voltage of an alternating current. This energized thought cuts through the noise of the world. This is why people who are truly obsessed with their goals seem to attract the right people and the perfect opportunities at exactly the right moment. They aren't just lucky. They are literally broadcasting a stronger, more coherent signal that resonates with the world around them. Consider the emotion of sex, which stands at the absolute head of the list of human emotions regarding intensity and driving force. When this energy is transmuted, a word derived from the Latin transmutare, meaning to change from one form into another, it provides a mental stimulus that elevates the mind to a higher plane of vibration. This isn't about the physical act. It is about the creative energy behind it. When this drive is harnessed and redirected toward a definite purpose, it acts as a turbocharger for the brain's broadcasting equipment. It sharpens the creative imagination, making it hyperreceptive to the thoughts and ideas floating in the ether, that intangible medium that scientists once believed filled all of space. Think of it like a Wi-Fi router in your home. If that router is tucked away in a lead-lined box in the basement, you will get no signal in the living room. Your doubts, your indecision, and your lack of purpose are that lead box. They dampen the signal until it is non-existent. But when you apply the principle of persistence, you are effectively moving that router to the center of the room, boosting the power and clearing away the obstructions. You become a magnet for the information, the resources, and the people you need to succeed because your frequency is finally matching the frequency of your goals. Let's look at a real-world example to ground these abstract concepts. Imagine a young entrepreneur named Sarah. Sarah is determined to launch a sustainable fashion line that uses recycled ocean plastics. Now, if Sarah just thinks it's a good idea in a casual, fleeting way, nothing happens. But Sarah is persistent. She spends every night researching chemical recycling, every morning sketching designs, and her heart is fueled by a deep, visceral passion for the environment. She can feel the plight of the oceans in her very bones. Because her mind is so highly stimulated by this desire, she starts to notice things others miss. While standing in line at a coffee shop, she randomly overhears a conversation between two textile engineers. Because her receiving set is tuned to the frequency of sustainable textiles, she picks up on their keywords and strikes up a conversation. Later, she happens to see a documentary that gives her the perfect marketing angle. Was it luck? Or was her receiving set finally tuned to the high-frequency signal of her goal? Sarah's ROI, her return on investment, on her mental energy was high because she kept the signal consistent, powerful, and emotionally charged. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about the last big goal you set for yourself. Close your eyes and recall that feeling. Were you broadcasting a high-voltage signal of faith, a clear and steady beam of intention? Or was your transmission flickering with the gray static of doubt and the what-ifs? Here is a micro-challenge for you. For the next 24 hours, every time you think about your goal, do not just think about it logically. Intentionally add a feeling of profound gratitude as if the goal has already been achieved. Feel the weight of the success in your hands. Smell the air of the new office. Hear the voices of people congratulating you. See if that shift in voltage changes the reception you get from the world around you. This leads us to one of the most fascinating and misunderstood tools in the history of self-development, the invisible counselors. Imagine you could assemble a board of directors made up of the greatest, most influential minds in human history. Imagine sitting at a long, mahogany table in a dimly lit, quiet library. To your left sits Abraham Lincoln, his face etched with the wisdom of heavy decisions. To your right sits Thomas Edison, his eyes bright with the spark of 1,000 inventions. Across from you is Eleanor Roosevelt, radiating a sense of calm, ethical strength. You can ask them for advice, observe their reactions, and absorb their character traits into your own psyche. This isn't about the supernatural or summoning spirits. It is about the profound, psychological power of autosuggestion. By vividly visualizing these mentors, you are actually training your brain to access different perspectives that exist within your own subconscious. You are stimulating your own receiving set to think the way a leader thinks, or to solve problems the way an inventor thinks. You are bypassing your own ego and its limited fears by stepping into the archetypal strength of these historical figures. Let's break down how this works with a case study. Think of a modern-day CEO, let's call him Marcus. Marcus is facing a massive corporate crisis, a product recall that could bankrupt his company. Instead of succumbing to blind panic, Marcus uses the counsel technique. Every night before sleep, he closes his eyes and enters his mental boardroom. He sits down with Marcus Aurelius to learn stoic calm in the face of disaster. He consults Steve Jobs for a path of creative disruption to fix the product. And he talks to his own grandmother to maintain his sense of common sense and ethics. By talking through the problem with these mental avatars, Marcus steps outside his own limited, fearful perspective. He finds a solution that is a masterful blend of courage and innovation. The result? He doesn't just save the company. He rebrands it as a leader in safety and transparency. The lesson here is clear. You never have to solve your problems alone when you can tap into the collective wisdom of your invisible counselors. But there is a catch. You cannot reach this level of mental mastery if your radio is being jammed by the 6 ghosts of fear. These ghosts are the ultimate enemies of persistence. They are subtle, they are quiet, and they live in the deep, damp shadows of your subconscious. They are the noise that prevents you from hearing the signals of the 6th sense. The first and most destructive ghost is the fear of poverty. This isn't just a rational concern about bills. It's a deep-seated mindset of scarcity that paralyzes your reason and kills your ambition. It makes you play small, clutching what you have with white-knuckled desperation. Have you ever turned down a life-changing opportunity because you were terrified of losing the tiny bit of security you already held? That is the ghost of poverty whispering that there will never be enough. It makes you see the hole in the donut instead of the donut itself, focusing on the lack rather than the potential. The second ghost is the fear of criticism. This is the one that stops you from posting that video, starting that business, or even wearing that outfit you love. It is the paralyzing dread of what they will say. It is a social friction that slows down your momentum. But here is a reality check. Most people are so consumed by their own ghosts, so worried about their own perceived failures, that they barely have time to notice yours. Criticism is often just a projection of the critic's own insecurities. When you realize this, the ghost of criticism loses its substance. It becomes nothing more than mist. Then we have the fear of ill health. This ghost is often fed by our own negative suggestions, the habit of Googling every minor ache until we are convinced of a catastrophe. It creates a cycle of stress that actually weakens the body. Then there is the fear of loss of love, a ghost that triggers jealousy, possessiveness, and the very behaviors that drive love away. We have the fear of old age, which is really just a fear of losing our usefulness or our beauty in a world that prizes the new. And finally, the most universal specter, the fear of death. All 6 of these are merely states of mind, and because they are states of mind, they can be controlled, edited, and erased. They are like shadows on a wall. They look terrifying and giant, but if you turn on the bright light of persistence and a definite purpose, they vanish instantly. They have no power other than the power you grant them through your attention. Think of your mind like a garden. It is a fertile, rich soil. If you don't intentionally plant seeds of success, the weeds of fear will grow automatically. You don't have to work to grow weeds. You just have to do nothing. You just have to be passive. Persistence is the act of daily weeding. It is the sustained, sometimes exhausting effort to keep your mind open to the positive and closed to the negative. It is the refusal to let the ghosts take up residence in your mental real estate. Let's use another analogy. Building your mental strength is like wearing a path through a dense, primeval forest. The first time you try to think positively or act with persistence, it's incredibly hard. You're hacking through thick brush, thorns are catching at your clothes, and the ground is uneven. It's exhausting and you want to turn back. But the second time you walk that way, the brush is already flattened. The 100th time. It's a clear, well-worn path. The 1000th time. It's a paved, high-speed road. In biological terms, your brain is creating a neural pathway, a physical, electrochemical connection that makes success your default setting. Persistence is the process of paving that road. Now, let's talk about the strategy of the mastermind. This is a concept where 2 or more people coordinate their knowledge and effort in a spirit of total harmony. When you do this, it's like connecting multiple high-capacity batteries in a series. The total power generated is exponentially greater than the sum of its individual parts. This is why a small team of 3 people, working in absolute harmony toward one goal, can solve problems that 100 people working individually and competitively never could. They are creating a third mind, a collective broadcasting station that taps into a higher level of intelligence. They are pooling their receiving sets to catch a signal that is too faint for one person to hear alone. Imagine you are part of a small mastermind group. You meet once a week to discuss your challenges. Because you are all focused on a definite purpose, you start to experience what scientists call emergent properties, complex behaviors that arise from simple parts. Ideas start to pop up in the conversation that none of you had thought of individually. This is the practical, grounded application of the sixth sense. It is the moment when the receiving set of the group picks up a signal from the infinite intelligence that was invisible to the individual ego. I want to give you a scenario exercise to practice this. Imagine you want to double your income in the next 12 months. Using the tools we have discussed, how would you set it up? First, you define the exact amount. That's your definite purpose, your frequency. Second, you create a written plan. That's your sending signal. Third, you assemble your invisible counselors, Lincoln for persistence, Edison for innovation, to advise you on that plan. Fourth, you identify which of the 6 ghosts is holding you back. Is it the fear of criticism from your peers who might think you're being greedy, or the fear of poverty if your new venture fails? Once you name the ghost, you take away its mask. You see it for what it is, a mere thought form that you have the power to change. Persistence is not just about grinding and working long hours. It is about maintaining the frequency of your faith even when the reception of your life is fuzzy and full of static. It is about knowing with a deep and quiet certainty that the signal is there, even if you can't hear the music yet. Just like a radio operator in a storm, you don't smash the radio because you hear static. You keep tuning the dial. You keep sending the message. You keep believing that the answer is on its way, traveling through the ether toward your waiting antenna. Success is a choice, but more importantly, it is a frequency. Riches, whether they are financial, spiritual, or emotional, are a state of mind. You have absolute control over one thing, and one thing only in this entire universe: your own thoughts. When you take control of that one thing, you take control of your destiny. You become the master of your own broadcasting station, the commander of your own mental airwaves. So, as we wrap up today's deep dive into the intangible forces of the mind, I want you to ask yourself, what frequency am I broadcasting right now? Is it the low-level hum of "I can't" and it's too hard, or is it the clear, powerful, high-voltage signal of "I will"? The world is waiting to hear your unique broadcast. Don't let the ghosts of fear keep you off the air. Don't let the static of the world drown out the music of your potential. Remember, the sixth sense, that divine connection to the source of all ideas, does not function in a mind filled with indecision, doubt, or fear. You must clear the deck. You must be bold in your transmissions. You must be persistent in your tuning. The temple of wisdom is always open. The signals are always being sent. But the door only swings wide for those who have the courage to knock and keep knocking until the frequency is matched and the door opens. Take a deep breath. Feel the energy of your own thoughts pulsing within you. You are a marvel of biological and mental engineering, a walking broadcasting station with the power to reach across the world. You are connected to a source of intelligence that is infinite and inexhaustible. All you have to do is tune in, stay on the frequency of your desire, and never, ever give up on the transmission of your dreams. This is the essence of the philosophy we are building together. It is a journey from the physical to the intangible, from the seen to the unseen, and from the person you are today to the person you are destined to become. The path is clear, the tools are in your hands, and the signal is stronger than it has ever been. It is time to stop listening to the static. It is time to start broadcasting your greatness. Let's get to work. That wraps up this episode. Join us next time as we continue our journey on Aura Audio, where we will explore the final steps to mastering your mindset and unlocking the riches you deserve.